Welcome everyone. I'm Sharon, your host for these sessions. And I also have a very special panel with me, joining me to share their valuable insights on the new talent acquisitions and development in the new normal today. Now, before I introduce my guests and kickstart our panel discussion, let me introduce our NUS ISS programs that will help you, especially the employers who are looking to hire new talents and also reskilling your employees to support your company's digital transformations. Here are the info slides. Our program is called Professional Conversion Program, PCP, which is very much focused to support the PMETs and also the mid-career professionals who needs to undergo skill conversions in order to take on the new job roles to support their organizations. And these programs definitely also will help in their career progressions. Now, in our PCP, we have two types of model that will benefit the employers. First, the employers can use the place and train programs to support their new hires to be reskilled so that they can take on the new job roles that are prepared for them. The employers also can use our in-company redeployment conversions to support their existing employees who are impacted by the recent reorganizations or transformations so that they can be reskilled to take on the new job roles prepared for them. Today, we have 7 PCP programs, and each of these programs are specially designed to prepare the individuals to take on a targeted job roles. As the individuals going through the programs, they will be taking on skill training that are relevant for the job roles. Then they also will be able to apply what they have learned by executing a company's projects. First, we have data analyst PCP programs that very much support the individuals to take on the data analyst roles, could be investment analyst and all different kind of analyst role where the individual will be able to use data to gain business, valuable business insight to help the business to make better decisions or even looking for new opportunities. We have full stack developer programs that is especially to help the software engineers to learn technical skills to build the mobile app development and solution, which is very much in high demand today. We also have business analytics programs that especially help the business professionals across different functions in the organization, such as operations, finance, marketing, so that they can manage and implement business analytics projects. We also have AI engineers programs that is specifically to support the AI engineers and also the AI developer to build intelligent systems across a range of business domain and create the system solutions to solve business problems. And then we also have digital product programs that specifically help the individuals to take on digital product roles or digital marketing role or could be e-commerce role where the individuals will learn how to design and deliver the product platform and ecosystem. And we also have smart health transformation program that specifically help individuals who are working in health sector to become digital transformation analysts, will be able to work on transformations projects to help the health organizations to achieve their transformations goal. Last but not least, we have solution architect programs that will be able to help IT solutions architect to be able to design and develop platform architectures, building the platform features, and also managing platform architectures projects. Today, we are very much aware, many employers, business leaders, they are very concerned with the uncertain economic situation in the next 1 to 3 years. And it is understandably, they are very cautious in their investment, especially on the people investment. As this quote say, a time of danger now is also a time of opportunity. So since COVID-19 started earlier this year, we see explosions of e-commerce in many businesses across the industry. We also see massive adoptions of data and digitals in many industry, in many business to quickly evolve in their business transformations. We also see a growing demands in the certain roles such as digital marketing roles, data analytic roles, technical roles such as the AI, robotic, and many sort of transformations role that the company needs in order for them to navigate the unprecedented business challenge that all are facing today. Indeed, the employers and even the business leader, they are facing very difficult decisions and challenging time to balance how they are leading their current workforce today to mitigate their business risks, and at the same time to anticipate the future business opportunities, to anticipate the future skills that they need to build into their workforce so that they are ready to embrace the new post-pandemic world. So this afternoon is our privilege to have our esteemed guests here in a panel to share their valuable insights on how talent acquisitions and talent development have evolved in this new normal era that we are here today. So let me welcome and introduce our guests here today this afternoon. First, I would like to welcome Dr. Jaclyn Lee, who is the Chief of Human Resource Officer from Singapore University of Technology and Design. We also have Mr. Mayank Parekh, CEO, Institute of Human Resource Professionals. And I have also Mr. Teck Yong, Head of Operations and HR at Shopee. A warm welcome to Jaclyn, Mayank, and Teck Yong. All right, now, 4Ds, digital disruptions, digitalization, and digital transformations. These are the 4Ds that keep most of the employers, the business leader awake at night, thinking how they can support their employees to catch up with the right skill, learn new skills to embrace all these fast and furious challenges that the business are facing today. And of course, we know we are now in the age of automations, where many tasks has been automated. And in fact, one of the impact of digitalization, it does free up some capacities from the employees due to the impact of digitalization. So in view of this, I would like to first ask Jaclyn, how should the employers leverage on these free capacities that's being released due to digitalization and create the opportunities for the employees to learn new skills so that they can take on new job roles to create different value for the business today?
Good afternoon, everyone. If you think about what has happened in the world today, digital acceleration has really begun. In fact, some 5 to 7 years back. But the problem is that I have seen and encountered when I give talks and talk to business leaders is that there's a lot of resistance to change. So you think about what has happened in the world today is a lot of the jobs that are routine, manual, have already been automated and replaced by artificial intelligence, robotic process automation. So a lot of the manual job and very routine tasks are gradually being replaced by machines. So if you think about that has been happening the last couple of years, and because of this digital acceleration, companies are finding it difficult to cope with what is happening. So you think about the pandemic world today. In fact, what COVID-19 has done is it has brought about that awareness that now we have to accelerate at a faster speed. People are forced to now telecommute, work from home, and because you're working from home, you have to automate a lot of your processes. So because of this, now employers are actually now a lot more open. Change management is so critical in this process. Before reskilling, you really have to make sure that we get the whole organization through a culture transformation, that this has to happen. Thinking has to change, including business leaders all the way to the workers on the ground. So in fact, this is a very good opportunity that we're now all working from home. We're in this circuit breaker period that companies need to relook at their processes. What are the things that can be automated so that they free their workers to do more higher value order work, and retrain them in the skill sets that I believe that Sharon has spoken a lot about those skill sets in the area of business analytics, programming, e-commerce, digital marketing. If you think about a lot of the areas, even in digital fabrication. So there is so many new and emerging areas. So if we could make use of all those resources that the government has really put in so much effort to tap into the grants and send all your workers for all those relevant training, so that when the pandemic is over, you get your people ready for higher value work while the routine tasks are being automated. So I believe now is the right opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Just now you mentioned, yeah, even before we, helping the employees to learn new skills, taking on new skills, I think the culture transformation is very, very important, the mindset as well, so that mentally, emotionally, and, professionally, right, everyone is ready to embrace new skill and create something different for the business and for the customers. All right, so Teck Yong, we know Shopee today currently in a very hot e-commerce space right now with rising growth, but also facing intense competitions and changing customer expectation as well. So how Shopee has been keeping up to create opportunities for the employees to be always ready with the right skill at the right time as your business are facing all these changes in the marketplace?
Thanks, Sharon, and thanks for inviting us to this panel discussion. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is TY from Shopee. So we often speak to our students and listen to them, and the first message that we often ask our students who are applying to Shopee is to keep an open mind, in terms of what you look for in your first career, in your second or third jobs. And in the same way, I would appeal to our audience over here, the HR practitioners, to really keep an open mind as an employer. And I say this because we often, as Jaclyn mentioned, there's always a resistance internally about training our employees, about bringing in new talent, resistance whenever there's new changes, major changes, disruption to the business. And really that mindset is the first thing that needs to change. And if you keep an open mind in adopting new technologies, adopting automation, adopting a bit more digital in your processes, it will help a lot. So, and building on what Jaclyn mentioned earlier, the transformation has started. The transformation started 5-7 years ago. Digital is here to stay. Tech is here to stay. Companies who embrace digital and technology will survive and thrive. Those who struggle, those who didn't keep up may struggle in coming years. And I think the pandemic, the COVID-19 situation has accelerated this change. It didn't bring about the change has been happening. It shows the delta between those who embrace and those who didn't. And those who embrace, I think a lot of them have kept an open mind in terms of hiring people ahead of demand, hiring people with the right skills ahead of demand, training internally, and there's really many programs out there to help the employees upskill themselves, to help future candidates upskill themselves. We are really talking about what is the job profile in the coming years. How do we envisage our job profile in the next 5 years? Is it going to be the same? No, it's not going to be the same. So what is it going to be like? Is it going to be replaced? Is it going to be more based on technology, coding? If that's the case for your business, I think we need to seriously think about how can we upskill ourselves, prepare ourselves ahead of the change. And this can be done in various ways. So to share what we do in Shopee, we look at this on a 2-stage process, before they join and after they join. Before they join, we seek to educate the market. We seek to educate our candidates in terms of what are the skills required. So we do a lot of outreach, awareness building to really let the students and mid-career joiners out there know that we are a tech company. The entire tech industry is hiring a lot, but you need to prepare yourself. You need to prepare yourselves with the right skill sets. With if they require a bit of coding, you should do some coding. essentially we organize workshops, boot camps, competitions to educate the market, to get them aware that the industry requires a certain type of skills. So that's before hiring. After hiring, we continue to upskill employees. We send them for courses. We have a lot of internal courses. We even have a Teck Academy, a Teck Academy set up internally to train our employees on Teck. It's a series of sharings, training lessons, to really share best practices, knowledge, so that we help support each other, and through doing that, we really build a culture of learning, embracing changes, and I think people learn to embrace this a lot easier. They adapt to the new technologies, and they grow. And I think that's all contingent on keeping an open mind for employers to receive talent with new skills, to train them, and view this as a journey. It's not a one change. It's really a journey that the entire organization has to go through together, wholeheartedly.
Yes, thank you, Teck Yong, for sharing such a very good best practices with our participants here. So indeed, I think one of the greatest asset that everyone as an employee is really having this growth mindset, like you say, being open-minded, right? I mean, we have to continuously learn it all and not just, assuming that we know it all, right? Yes. Now, today, beside digital disruptions, we also facing pandemic disruptions since this year. And that forced many companies to quickly change their business model, their operation model very, very quickly in order to stay relevant in the eyes of the customers and evolve with the changing industry trend. Now, due to such rapid business transformations, in fact, we see a very apparent workforce skill gap that need to be addressed urgently. So Mayank, I'd like to ask you, what's your thoughts on how employers today are, the challenge of balancing the needs of hiring new talents and also at the same time deciding how they can reskill their existing employees in the organization to close these evolving skill gaps that they keep facing. I mean, what's their decision-making process will look like trying to manage this very delicate balance here?
Yeah, it's indeed a very delicate balance, and it's not a easy decision to make in a crisis like this, right? So I just wanted to re-emphasize the call to action is very clear, both from Teck Yong and Jaclyn, right? That the call to action is really digitize, get yourself ready as an employee, and get your company ready, right, for the future. And in Singapore, I always say we are very blessed because we've got so many resources out there to support us. We've been part of the Skills Future movement for the longest time, and this is a Skills Future Month, right? And we are here today in recognition of the need for us to constantly reinforce the message in companies. So there is a lot of resources. So my advice is really that companies who are struggling at this time to leverage on all the resources that are already out there. Find ways to connect with your networks, whether you're part of a trade association, you're part of a network of industry groups. There is always an avenue for you to go out and seek help, right? And once you're connected to those networks, you will be in a position to understand how you can take advantage of that, right? What schemes can you take advantage of? What are the subsidies that are available for your kind of a business? And you don't even have to kind of worry too much about, providing a step-by-step approach, because a lot of your, you're part of your HR team. A lot of the HR team has already been well aware of skill frameworks. So some time ago, Skills Future Singapore came up with a series of skill frameworks. So no matter whether you are in hospitality, you're in manufacturing, you're in, in IT, For jobs that are in those sectors, the frameworks already defines some of the career pathways. It already takes into account the digitization that is ongoing, how your industry is going to be impacted, and how jobs are going to change. So so your HR team, your managers, have those resources at hand. So take advantage of that. So understand how specific jobs within your organization are going to evolve, and then that gives you a very clear understanding of where the gaps are, what are the skill gaps, and then leveraging on the subsidies that are available. How can those gaps be bridged? The other thing I just want to say is that it takes at this time of a crisis, it takes leadership, very strong set of leadership in order to move the company forward, because there are very clear trade-offs to make, all right? There are very clear trade-offs between short-term and long-term. But without understanding the trade-offs, it's very easy to kind of be too preoccupied in the short term, and sometimes then you don't have enough understanding of where you're heading, or sometimes you may not even survive the short term. So leadership at this time is critical, and this is where get your leadership together, share information as much as you can in terms of what's going on. How can we as a company, as an organization, respond, and involve your team in helping to frame the problem, to frame the journey. I think that's kind of the way that I would recommend companies out there to start. Start with your leadership, get that buy-in, and then have that percolate further down the organization.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remind everyone we are not alone, right? I mean, everyone is facing the same challenge. And I think there's a lot, like what Mayank has reminded or mentioned, there's a lot we can leverage, right? In terms of the schemes from the governments, there's a lot of network that we can, seek help from people. And I'm sure there will be a lot of support that we can get once we, call for help or reach out, right? Yes, and so Teck Yong, on this point, right? I mean, we are talking about, we are always facing this challenge, or rather the options, right, to buy or to build talents. So in Shopee, so what are your key considerations when you choose between hiring new talents and also versus develop the skill within your existing employees?
Yep. I think the short answer is we do both. And I think the answer applies to our friends in the audience as well, that you often think about hiring as well as training your existing employees. You of course want to enhance the value of your own employee network, employee base. And that's important, enhancing their value, sending them for upskilling, reskilling. And we often have this saying in Shopee that we want to enhance your value while you're in Shopee. We all recognize our guys will leave us at some point, but we want you to leave Shopee stronger than when you first join us. And that's a little promise that we give to our employees, and that's a responsibility for us as an employer, that you have to leave stronger. And when you leave stronger, maybe you leave with new skills, maybe you leave with some leadership expertise. But regardless, we want to be able to enhance our employees while they are with us. So I think this is really the short answer is we do both. And I think the question on the minds of our audience maybe is, when we talk about PCP, when we talk about the tech transformation, they may think that it's all about software engineers, developers, that I'm an SME. Do I need to build an app? Do I need to set up my own social media account and make sure I get 1 million followers? So the notion of tech transformation, going digital, differs. It differs, and often people get put off they are intimidated by that. They thought they have to build apps. They thought it's very complicated. Do I need to go into data science? What if I can't find the data scientists to support my business? Do I need to do all that? The answer is really, it depends on the business that you are in. Not everyone needs to build an app. Not everyone needs a data scientist. Not everyone needs an AI strategy. It really depends. And I think in Shopee, we define tech pretty broadly. I think Sharon mentioned data analysts, and this is also, in a broader sense, technology. Do you have guys to look at your business performance? Do you have guys who can pull data for you and pull historical data, big data sets to really get insights from your own business performance? Or do you depend on the few reports that you have been receiving? I think the ability to read into data, to get insights, to maybe write a little script to automate that data churning is technology for us, is tech. And I think if the majority of our SMEs can embrace data a bit more, can embrace technology, coding, data a bit more, it will help them in their decision making. It will help improve their business process, and it will help the business. And it will help, I think, increase the resilience of our SMEs. So I think whether you're SME or you're a fairly large company, you will have to think about what tech means for you. It is not just about making apps. And I often speak to retailers in Singapore, the SME retailers. To them, it's not about building your own e-commerce website. To them, it's about joining a platform. To them, it's about harnessing digital marketing. Do you have guys who can do a live feed, a live Shopee, a live stream session? Do you have guys who can help you manage your social media channels and look at the ROI for each channel? So these are, in a broader sense, technology, embracing technology for us. It's not just about building apps. And I hope to debunk that myth. It's not so intimidating. You can take baby steps. You can take small steps in embracing this technology change.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very, very nice to hear, Shopee's leadership commitments to always support your employees to keep growing and keep learning, and also, help them to, be stronger and bring all this value that they have, learned from working in Shopee, even contribute further in the industry, or as they move on in their career journey. Yeah, that's a very, very good that you share there. All right, I think earlier Mayank also mentions the importance of leadership role, balancing the trade-off, looking at right now the short term versus the future. So Jaclyn, what will be your advice for the employers to balance their focus on putting the right short-term talent strategies to manage the current business risk right now, at the same time crafting these long-term talent strategies to build the future-ready workforce so that they are ready to embrace the post-COVID-19 era?
Thank you. So if you really think about what is happening in terms of the whole organizational context, balancing short-term and long-term requires you to really look at the entire workforce planning. So in workforce planning, we look at the size, the shape, the agility, as well as the cost of the workforce. So I will not advise you to go out and just start sending people for training without thinking through your short and long-term strategy. So in the short term, so when we first started SUTD, we actually looked through the entire, workforce talent in terms of levels. So you think about the immediate needs, what you want to do in the near 1 or 2 years. There's a certain type of skill set that you will need to fill your current business needs. But if you think about a long-term strategy, then I would say that you got to look at scenario planning. So my advice would be, when you're planning your talent strategy, look at your entire workforce. Look at your business strategy. Once you're very clear what's your business strategy in 1 year, in 2 years, in the next 4 to 5 years, then you need to break down your entire talent strategy into different steps. So step 1 is really thinking about looking at your current skill set. What are the skill sets you have? and in the next 1 or 2 years, what your business needs to achieve, and you need to look at the gap analysis. So once you look at the gap analysis, you're very clear about the short-term skills gap that you need. Then you want to send your people for that training. That comes from your training and development strategy. But in the long term, if you think about in the 4 to 5 years time, and let's not be short-sighted about this COVID situation, it's gonna dissipate, in a year or two. If you think about the next 5 years, you want to think about the kind of competitive advantage your organization is going to have. So in SUTD, when we think about in the next 5 years, we want to grow in certain sectors. You can't do everything. So we focus on 3 or 4 areas. And once I'm very clear about that, I start to look at my capability development. Do I have enough people in my current organization that can fill the long-term business goals for the next 5 to 7 years? If I don't have, how do I start getting the talent? So sometimes not all solutions come with training. You need to look at your talent acquisition strategy. If I don't have, do I procure the talent? Do I go out and recruit? And if I do have the talent, how do I keep them for the next 5 to 7 years? I'd start to look at my compensation strategy. And then if I want to get people up to speed, in MERS drilling, they were having problem with filling lead specialist position. So what they did was they came up with a technical trainee program, and they developed people through a period of 6 to 10 years into lead specialists, and they realized that with that, turnover reduced by more than 50%. So once I know that, I start to have a training program to develop long-term strategy. But of course, looking at the whole thing, you're going to measure your cost. Can I afford to have this kind of training program? Can I afford to do this in the next 5 to 7 years? So look at your cost, look at the shape of the workforce you want, do the kind of agility you want to build, and the kind of capabilities. And so from there, you can really integrate your long-term and your short-term strategy, and ensure that you plan that kind of talent strategy that will take you, in the long haul, not just for the short term or the long term, but also meeting the long-term strategies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jaclyn. Yes, in fact, I think one of the very important point that Jaclyn made is really the talent strategy must always align with the business strategy and stay focused what really the business want to achieve and the vision of the business, right? And getting the right skills at the right cost to support the business visions. So on this note, Mayank, would you like to add any of your views in terms of, again, this very difficult and very important balance, right? Short term and long term. And anything you want to add from what we have shared so far?
Yeah, certainly. I think I can just build on what Jaclyn and Teck Yong has said. In terms of the talent management, right? It's HR is custodian of talent in the organization, and we've always had the responsibility to manage the set of talents that we have. But I think what will be different post-COVID is really that increasing volatility in terms of the environment that you operate within. Certainly, I think things are not going to be linear, if you like, in the future. There's going to be a lot of start-stop. There's going to be a lot of flux. There, you will have to react much more than before to changes. If there's a cluster breaks out, suddenly your supply chain is disrupted, you have to react, right? So I think how do you build that kind of agility within your organization post-COVID? I think that's kind of what may be different going forward in terms of talent management, and which means really that agility comes in two ways, right? One is agility in terms of the way you're organized in the company. So you may not want to have jobs, for instance, too specialized. Because if you do that, then you kind of you're really scrambling when there's a disruption. So jobs may need to be a little bit broader in terms of scope and definition. The other opportunity is really skills. You may not even want to have people in two specialized skill sets. So there's once again an opportunity there to build broader based skill sets within your organization. So I think that's kind of some of the flavor of change that we're going to see in talent management going forward. Yeah.
Yes. It's very, very important as we have to all embrace the knowing of not knowing, as in we have to embrace the uncertainties, right? And I think agility is really the key. How do we keep on adapting to all these changes that will keep coming at us?
Yeah.
All right, so let's see, maybe we have about 15 minutes to take on some questions from our participants on the webinar. So I'm going to see what are the questions we can take to and invite our panels to answer over here. So, okay. All right, okay. So let me just read out the question first, and then I think feel free to answer, you know, from each of you, bring your perspective into this, right? So I have one participant asking, yes, after hearing from the panel, sharing their insights and their perspective, there are a group of employees who are still unable to upskill, reskill because of several challenges such as resistance to change, older age, lack of confidence, unable to see the pros of digitalizations. How do we create a change culture in such group of people? I think I remember, Jaclyn, you mentioned about culture transformations, and I think that Yong, you also mentioned about being the mindset. Perhaps maybe our last, invite Jaclyn to comment on this question, and I think feel free for Mayank and Teck Yong to add on.
As I shared earlier, culture transformation and changing mindsets, it's actually a very difficult task. It's not something that can be achieved overnight. I would suggest that for organizations really wanting to transform, you really want to think about painting a future scenario for your employees. You know, if you just ask someone to change without painting a future scenario and how the situation will benefit them, it's very difficult to get them on board the journey. So my suggestion is get those, you know, those employees that are resistant to change, get them to be the one to contribute the ideas on how they think they can help the organization, you know, create a better future, how they can envisage the future state so that they themselves are part of the participants in the change process. I found that when I get people to participate in the change process, I get much lesser resistance. And also there is a lot of this culture, you know, values inculcation. The CEO or the leader must constantly be the one that keeps bringing the messages across. Managers and leaders must also echo the same message and continue to encourage and foster that culture of change. I've encountered that when I tried to retrain one of my older workers, I must tell you that it took me almost 2 to 3 years to get his mind to change. And today, to my amazement, he transformed with somebody that is so good now. He's one of my most highly valued employees. So just be patient, stay the course, and continue to just enforce. But sometimes if you have no time, you need to make tough decisions. Then you know, I guess the business has no choice but to do what is best for the organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can also share a story. So I think when we talk about, you know, technology, you know, coding and so on, HR will be the last you know, few departments that you think of to embrace coding. So I think happened so for our office team, our office manager. I mean, she's a very experienced office manager, but I think in her past life before joining Shopee, she is used to Excel, you know, processing things offline. So I think it was sometime earlier this year when we had to do a lot of, you know, declaration, visitor declaration, travel declaration, and there's so many declaration forms that we have to process because we are quite a big organization now. It became quite tedious to update the records on a daily basis. So she got quite frustrated, fed up. She started picking up coding, and she's 40-ish. So she's a seasoned HR practitioner. Who is used to processing things in Excel. But I think the thought that if I can, you know, condense this 2-3 hour work into a 5-minute you know, process, why not? Why not? So she saw the benefit, but the process to get there is not so straightforward. So I think what we did was we round up a few of them, and instead of doing self-learning, which is the usual case to learn Python, we do group learning. So they learn together, we lock them up in a room, 2 hours every week, they pick up coding. And I think they learn command by command. You learn the simple print hello world first to build confidence. And from there, I think the team start to automate some of the processes. And when they see small success, they start to see, oh, whatever I do in 30 minutes, can be done in 10 seconds. It builds confidence and it gets them to learn more. So I think, and from then on, I think we start to see a lot more people learning. And I always say, if I can get this team to learn coding, anyone should be able to learn. There's no excuse. It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. If you have the will to overcome, whatever you do, if you want to go home earlier to see your kids, if you don't want to be stuck, doing that 3-hour work, which can be done in 10 seconds, you will find ways. You will find ways, and I think technology allows you that lever.
Yeah, that's a very nice and very inspiring story there. Sometimes you just take one spark to light a fire of learning and joining the whole new change. And I think earlier Jaclyn also mentioned something to me, I think is very important when we embrace new culture, changing mindset, is this spirit of co-creations, right? Involve the employees to be part of the change, leaving no one behind. I think that's a very, very good or something the leaders has to keep thinking about that. Mayank, what do you want to add to this?
I think don't give up. Don't give up. I think there's so much out there. The whole new way of learning, like Teck Yong mentioned, right? Bite-sized, online, so you can learn any time of the day, right? After your kids sleep, early in the morning, depending on what your preference is. So there is no lack of opportunity, no lack of resources available for you to pick things up. It doesn't have to be, you have to maybe set aside 1 week of your time, go somewhere, take a course, and then come back with a mountain of emails to clear. So I think those days are over. I think have that opportunity there to really understand what is it that you're passionate about, what is it that you really, really want to get better at, have some goals, for yourself, and then go out and find things that you can do to meet those goals. And peer learning, opportunities to connect with the communities that we have. So in the HR community, we've got communities of practice, and we organize them along lines of, say, people analytics. So if you want to know more about people analytics, join our communities of practice, and Jaclyn happens to be heading that, right? And I think it works because people kind of say, yes, I'm going to, get better at this. And the COP gives you a structured way, a step-by-step way of saying, how do you get better? And all you need to do is just devote some part of your day, some hours of the day, or even minutes of your day to get through those steps, right? So the opportunity now is that, think of learning as a way of life. Think of learning as something you do as part and parcel of your everyday living, so that it doesn't become a chore. It's something that you just take it in your stride. Right? So don't give up.
Yes. That's a very, very nice statement there, Mayank. Our learning no longer stop when we leave the school, right? Or when we finish our last exam paper. Those were the past, right? Learning is a way of life. I think that's a very beautiful and very important reminder for every one of us. Okay, we have time for one last question. So I'm going to pick this. Well, it's actually to Shopee, but I think feel free to also, for Jaclyn and Mayank to add your view. So there's a participant asking, does Shopee employees work remotely? And if yes, how do you balance about employing Singaporeans and foreigners, since now the talent pool is worldwide, probably also part of digitalization, globalization? So that's a question.
Are our employees working remotely? Yes, we are working remotely as part of the guidelines. I think every employee, every employer, I think every organization will have to adjust their way of working during this period since March. So yes, and I think that sort of affects how we hire as well. I think in terms of bring in talent, because I think Shopee is we're in a very fortunate position that during this situation, this challenging period for actually many other companies, we are still able to keep our workforce and grow because the business is still doing well. So we still have quite high hiring needs, and really I think we have to dig deeper and find talent, within our borders. Borders are still closed. We are looking harder than before to find the gems in the workforce today. And surprisingly, I think it wasn't so difficult. I think it was a pleasant surprise that actually there are many people who are keen to come forward, even though they have no e-commerce experience, to try. And we often say that if you have no skills, it's okay, we can train you. What's more important is the skill. So skill more than will. If you are passionate about a certain topic, if you are keen to learn a new industry, I think we are very happy to teach you. We're happy to equip you with the skills to succeed in the role, as opposed to skill but no will. So I think we are actually very, very fortunate to be able to find talent, even within this period, and train them, and train them through our various internal training programs.
Yes, and I'm sure the technologies today also, make it easier for us to find the right match of talents as and when we need it. Any other thoughts from Mayank and Jaclyn to add on?
I think it's just important to look at your needs in a very holistic way, and once you're very clear where are your gaps, you of course want to try and fill those roles. If I would encourage with as many Singaporeans as possible. That's our job to ensure that, and if we don't have enough Singaporeans in those skill set, like what universities are very good in doing is traineeship schemes. We have a lot of schemes to nurture Singaporean talent in those areas that we do not have the kind of skill set amongst the Singaporean, So the idea is that we shouldn't give up, we can't find, but we should endeavor to retrain the workers, to get them on board and put them through a training program so that we can bring in as many Singaporeans on board to the organization as possible.
That's a good one, good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's so much talent that we have. We have one of the best education systems in the world. So there is a lot of talent in Singaporeans. We need to tap on that. We need to make sure that they continue to kind of keep abreast of the changes. They're ready for future jobs. I think, but once we do that, once we have a workforce that is future ready, I think then certainly, the employers, not just Singaporean employers, but employers all over the world will be looking at this pool of talent here. So really, I think let's focus on building up the skill sets, providing the best environment so that Singaporeans and residents can really grow, right? Grow together with our businesses.
Yes.
That's kind of the opportunity we have with this. Right?
Yeah, thank you. And so with that, I'd like to thank everyone for all the good questions that we have received. And we also definitely want to say a big thanks to our panel here today, sharing their valuable perspective, their very good insights on how talent acquisitions and talent development have evolved and will continue to be evolved, right, as we embrace the futures. And with that, to end this webinar, I would like to also invite all of you out there, especially the employers, to join our next webinar sessions, which we're going to share more about the PCP program, Professional Conversion Programs, which is scheduled on 13th of August at 2 p.m. So in these sessions, we will share with you more details and also answer to your questions on how this program is going to help your companies to hire or reskill your workforce. All right, so with that, take care everyone. Thank you, goodbye.